Hey guys, Fox here. Welcome into the third episode of the Epic Upgrade, where I'm gonna be forcing aluminium to float. I had a plan to upgrade my CNC machine over Christmas, but my aluminium plates turned out to be a bit stressed. I got 6061 T651 plates, which are supposed to be distressed by stretching, and unfortunately, I don't know, maybe it works on the small pieces, but on a piece like that, yeah, there were lots of disasters, and instead of me milling parts, I had to make them flat first. I haven't heard much about scraping aluminium before, so I guess there must be a reason for it. But anyway, it didn't stop me from trying. I have 6 plates to scrape. So to finish before the next Christmas, I had to come up with something slightly faster than hand scraping. All the plates come wavy with uniform thickness, so I thought by facing them I give them a uniform thickness and I will make them flat at the same time. So I did 2 passes top and the bottom, and the finish was amazing. But when I released it from the vacuum plate, it developed horrible bow of 200 microns. To be honest, I couldn't live with that. And to get rid of all the unknowns, I decided to get the surface plate and keep the distance from the top of the surface plate to the spindle the same. So when you pass the aluminium, it has to have that thickness and it has to get flat. Turns out that the surface plate was too small, so I had to remove all of the vices to go into the big surface plate. So the plate I'm cutting has the contact everywhere. It's just much easier to do it on the bigger surface plate. I've been doing lots and lots of passes. I started with 50 microns, then 20 microns, 10 microns, and final passes I've done on 5 microns. At the end it became, quite flat within 5 to 8 microns all over the place. The leftovers you see will be cut off on the drop saw. I got the lapping plate and I rubbed the sandpaper with it. It's pretty heavy, so it's easy to sand. And then I was spot sanding and give it like a average sand. There was lots of sanding involved into making those plates because I wanted them to be, super flat. It took me 3 days to get into that point where the plate is floating. As you can see, it's, pretty flat. It's under 10 microns on this whole surface. So that was a bit of a challenge. With the big plate, I was experimenting and learning what works, what not, and to show you the whole process from start to the end, slightly modified because I thought I could do it quicker. I'm gonna show you on smaller plates. For the side plates, I couldn't be bothered with hand milling, so I'm using this jig, and now, as you can see, that one doesn't want to slide. Not really. Let's see how straight it is. -3 almost to 8 on plus. Then it goes back to 0 in here. And side to side, yeah, there is also kind of a big difference. I'm gonna be facing it in here, so I have my lock bolts, and here I'm using one, putting it like this, tightening it up. Oh wait, that one got loose. It's very simple and crude setup, but it's good enough. So the plate is not sliding, but I'm not pressing on it either. I'm gonna be facing this side, then I'm gonna flip it, face, then I'm gonna flip it back and reverse and face it, and then I'm gonna flip it again and face it again. So actually I should also rotate it like this and slice it a couple of times, so when it releases all the stress and bows and stuff, it's you know, I'm trimming each time whatever it's released. And by rotating it like this as well would help with any waviness in the machine. The center point will be high or low, but everything around should be very flat, and basically in overall it should be very flat. So, you know, by having a high or a low spot on the center, it's it will be very minimal, because you made so many passes in different directions and at different times. I made myself a G-code which goes like this and goes there, and it's by hand. Each time I can lower it deeper and deeper by the amount I want, so I don't have to redo the code each time. So it's cutting something. I'm gonna turn on the coolant. And as you can see, my Z is out of tram that way at this depth. So it's smooth that way, but it's, you know, zigzaggy on the way back. It's kind of reasonably flat, I would say. Kind of guesstimating it to be like around 8 microns. Yeah, but as you can see here, it's a low spot. It's quite dramatic compared to, you know, all the rest, especially how much it was cutting from this end. So now I'm gonna do, I think that's fine. I'm just gonna flip it. And we can see those, how high are those peaks and valleys. Yeah, I think it's around 8, 10 maybe. But it's gonna get the high spot or low spot. It's here. Okay, now go here. Yeah, 10 microns. Between high here and the low here. Okay, so now I'm gonna take it off. Wipe whatever is under. Let's see if it glides better than the last time. Nope. Maybe because it's too much water under, but it's not scratching like the last time. I should clean all the chips from the bottom. Doesn't want to glide. Let's see the original one, if that one will, on a bit of the water anyway. Oh yeah. So the water, it's not the problem here. That's just the flatness. So obviously when I cut that, it released some stress from the top, and it bowed one way or the other. Oh, I think I can see a pinch in here. and that would be it. So now it's time to cut it from the bottom. So it was like that. So I'm gonna put it maybe like this. Okay. Jesus. It's still a bit high in here and here. Okay, so it did this, obviously. Okay, time for the top, and here I think I'm gonna take 50 microns off. Oh, sorry, I'm very rude. Or actually, I'm not gonna take any microns because it built up, so I'm still gonna be cutting something. So here is a super low spot. I mean, it's not that low, but you can see here. So it starts from here. Here was a high, and here is high, but that watch was going like this, I think. So, I'm gonna do another 20, I think. Okay. It's not wobbly. It's not bending anymore. I think I'm gonna go 20 microns lower than this. So here is the low spot. I mean, here is the high spot. Here is low because it's not cutting anything. I think here is not. Here it did cut something, I think. Not much. I cut it here, a bit of here, and then it's spot here. So now I'm gonna do, I think, 30 microns, I guess, and see what happens. Okay, so that's how it looks. It cut all the way here, and here, not too sure. Maybe it touched it a bit, but it's, you know, really flat now. Okay. And let's see if it's enough for that to float. Okay. No. So now that spot was here, I think. So now I'm gonna rotate it and put it over there. Now it looks like that. That section doesn't look like it's heavily touched. Maybe just the high spots. And that section has been touched. So I have a plan now to see how flat it is. Well, now it's better. Okay. What the hell happened here? Lord. Yeah, that water underneath that thing, it's not helping much. I think it's not too bad. Just gonna. Well, yeah, maybe it's not too bad, but it didn't stop me from making another 10 passes or so. This time I was going 5 microns at the time on one side and the other side, just to compensate for whatever bounced back. I have a plate here which I give quite a lot of sanding actually. It had the low spot in the middle, believe it or not. I thought it's one way or the other, but the sides were high and the center was low, so it looks like that. It's kind of reflective, but not too really. Yeah, like that, it's very reflective. The reflectiveness, it's not really important because it's just the surface. It could be peaks and valleys and it won't glide. Okay, let's see. I did clean the surface plate. But obviously I didn't clean it well enough. Jesus. Yeah, when you keep rubbing, some of the aluminium gets rubbed into the granite plate. And it starts rubbing. Now see, it rubs in here. I'm gonna rotate it. And I'm gonna check if it's rubbing in the same place. If it does, then it means that the surface plate has some dirt on it. Ugh. Yes, and it does look exactly same. Look the pattern. Same spot here, same spot here. Long edge, long edge. So I guess I would need to give it more cleaning. Let's see. How does it look? The bottom side is not done yet. I'll get to that. So here is 0 and here is a 1. Ow. So 0 goes to 1 and sideways. Oopsie. Here is 1, 0, 1. Interesting. So it still looks like it has a 10 micron valley in here. I'm pretty good with the 10 microns at the moment. Those are the side plates, so it's not that terribly important, to be micron precise. So, okay, we have it flat. Just gonna give it a clean in here. I should kind of use a stone to clean it off, but at the moment I can't be really bothered. So we know that one it's 10 microns, maybe like that, and I think that way as well 10 microns. So the edges are fine. So now I'm gonna just do the trimming. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so the ridges are within 10 microns, and front it's 0. Right, just gonna go on the ridge, it's 0, and the same ridge in here is damn it, close to 2. Maybe not. Reverse it, because maybe the surface plate is dirty. And see here, yeah, I think the surface plate is dirty, because here is one. I'm so gonna polish that thing now, or sand it, and take a look later on. Alright, so that thing, I think is quite flat. I'm just gonna get a piece of broken straight edge and just gonna scratch it to see if there's some holes. I'm looking at the ridges, so contact, here is all contact, and I think missing contact is somewhere in the center here. So I'm gonna pay attention when I'm gonna be flattening it with the, I think, 800 grit, and I'm just gonna get some alcohol. Really like isopropyl. It sands really well with the alcohol. Water doesn't work that well. As you can see, it doesn't need much. There's just some piece of a dirt. How it's this side. I think I'm gonna spray it so it glides a bit better. I'm gonna see where are the contact points again. So the edges. So a bit more, obviously, we're going pretty uniform, I see. And here I don't have to go to the edges as far as I did. Here kinda same story. So here you can see the pattern now. I have a contact pretty much everywhere. So this line, this, except in here. So that line is without the contact, so I still have to do edges more because they are more visible. But yeah, in general, I can do the whole surface now, almost. And I think maybe I should get the bigger grit, because that looks a bit like I haven't done much and I was doing lots of sanding. Still, those looks a bit high, and here vaguely anything. So maybe I'm gonna switch to just the regular one. Okay, so I finished with the coarse sandpaper and old-fashioned orbital sander. I'm gonna do just a quick pass with the finer coarse. So here, as you can see, I'm just trying to make it like the bridge between two ridges. Here I just make it flat and flat because those were the highest spots, and here it's the low spot. So I kind of figured it's like sculpting more or less, and you're pressing the, you know, the tool to left, to right. Maybe sometimes you use the corner, but yeah, you're just trying to sculpt it flat. Well, I can still see some ridges. So basically you can just make it flat by eye, to be honest. I'm just using that thing just out of sanity check. But you really can see when it's flat and when it's not. The edges are definitely still high. The shiny parts are getting wider, but I thought it would be much lower by now, so I guess I have to sand a bit more. Jesus, that's lots of sanding. See ya in a sec. So I did more sanding off the camera. I guess way more. And now I'm just gonna get the straight edge and clean it, and I will run over it. And let's see what pattern we'll get. The flatter it gets, it's harder to get the pattern, because, you know, it's kind of gliding by itself. So not many places where it has a contact. I think there is a dip in the middle, but everywhere else looks quite flat actually. So not sure if you can see anything. So here is like some pressure marks, and it's, so that's like slightly higher than the rest. So I think I'm just gonna give it the light sand. It's quite uniform, I would say, when I'm looking at the reflection. And now I'm gonna just try to make it a bit flatter. So I'm gonna get my surface plate, give it a good clean. So there is no like remainings of the sandpaper, the particles, because when that particle gets into the aluminium, it's just scratching everything. And if it's possible, I don't really like to have those kind of scratches. They don't look pretty. It doesn't kind of kill the functionality, it's just when the particle is embedded in aluminium, then it just grabs into the granite and it's scratching the granite as well, because then the aluminium become a lap. So trying to avoid it. When you wipe your hand over it, you can start feeling the particles. I'm pretty sure I will leave something behind, but I'm trying to do as best job as I can. Well, maybe not as best, but just decent enough, you know. And for polishing, I'm gonna be using Brasso. So I want a bit of tumbling polishing. So I don't want anything embedded in the granite or anything embedded in aluminium. So that should do it. Generous. And now I'm gonna get that thing, put it in here, and just rub. How does it look? Okay, it looks quite dull. There is a low spot, but everywhere else looks like it's okay. I've done some more lapping and sanding of the camera. Overall, it took me a day to do a plate. And in the next video, I want to show you how it glides over the surface plate. If the surface plate wouldn't had the holes and maybe would be cleaner a bit, it would glide without making any sound. And it does in some places of my surface plate, but in some you can hear some scratches, but pay attention. It's cool when you can move so quick. Can I make it? Can't really read the dial, but yeah, there is better surface over there, but the dial indicator is here. And the thickness of it is 24 62 millimeters, 24.62, 62 and a half, Sixty-two and a half, maybe a bit more than a half. Yeah, it's 62 and a half. Can you see it? So those were my two ways of doing the same thing, one by hand and one by a CNC. By hand I found it more precise, and it required way less sanding at the end, but you have to be way more careful with the chips getting under the plate while you moving it under the spindle. I think if I would spend slightly more time just trying to adjust the Z-axis, I would spend way less time sanding it, because the end mill was on the angle, so it was making the grooves, and I had to sand through the grooves, so that wasn't very optimal. I hope this video was interesting, perhaps even useful. In the next episode I'm gonna be using those plates, and I'm gonna be making Z-axis, and I can tell you right now that the results are quite spectacular. So stay tuned, be back.